Let's all go to the lobby.
Hey guys, welcome into Showtime. And if this is your first time here, what we like to do here on this show is we like to take a look at some of the media, the movies, the games, the TV shows when it comes to the element of predictive programming. Now, if you don't know what predictive programming is the element of being able to condition and pre-program society in the terms of technology, politics, religion, or other agenda pieces that they want to put through. And so it's built to condition the minds of people to prepare them, whether they want people to go with it or against it. And it's a form of mind control, really, in order to control the culture and control the minds of society without people actually really recognizing what's going on. And so they put these elements within these movies in order to get people to cozy up and get used to the idea. Also along with it, though, is if we understand the roots of what's going on, is it goes back to the Luciferian cabal, basically their kind of satanic Luciferian handbook that they have, where they are required to tell us in advance of what they are going to do. And so they put these elements through, whether it's through symbolism or subtle foundational themes and storylines, different character developments and ideas and whatnot. They put their ideas and their agendas, what they plan on doing in these movies, and send it out to the masses. And basically they are informing us ahead of time. That's why we see things, where it's like the theme of life mimics art, or art mimics life type of deal. Well, it really comes down to this. And so they're required to tell us what's going to happen. Kind of like us as watchmen, as we're told within the Bible, we are to warn people of what is coming. As long as we do our job, no matter what the person decides to do, the blood's not on our hands, it's now on theirs, but we are still must tell them what to do. It's kind of the same thing for how they take it, except Satan has flipped it over on its head. They're going to tell us ahead of time what they plan on doing to us. And if we just go along with it, then hey, their hands are clean and they don't have any blame for it. And so they put these elements in the movies in order to condition us and tell us ahead of time what's going on. So that's what we do, is we take a look at what goes on in these movies, symbolisms and ideas and everything like that. And so today I've got a good one. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this movie before, but it is none other than
220 countries tuned in for his first step. The world stood still for that stolen kiss. And as he grew, so did the technology. An entire human life recorded on an intricate network of hidden cameras and broadcast live and unedited 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to an audience around the globe. Coming to you now from Sea Haven Island, enclosed in the largest studio ever constructed, and along with the Great Wall of China, one of only two man-made structures visible from space. Now, in its 30th great year, it's the Truman Show!
That's right. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Truman Show. Truman Show, yes. It's basically a movie that stars Jim Carrey. And the plot line, the storyline is not too complicated. It's a pretty simple one where Jim Carrey is basically born into a TV show, a reality TV show where he doesn't know any better. So basically they take a kid that was abandoned by the mother and is instantly born and thrown into this world and raised in this fake world. So basically the entire world is this dome that's been created, and so they're living on an island, so to say. And so the TV show runs 24/7 watching Jim Carrey, his character, or Truman in this case, as he grows up, as he goes through school, as he sleeps, as he eats, goes to work, different activities, gets married, and so on and so forth. And so it's all about watching this person grow up in a fake world where everything is manipulated. The sun and the stars are manipulated. The weather is manipulated. The town is built. It's nothing but actors who are all in on this. Cameras set up all over the place that constantly watch him and what he's doing. So he's the only one unaware of living in this world. And so as the movie progresses, he slowly starts to begin to realize things aren't all as they seem. He starts to see where camera lights start falling from the sky. He starts to see repetition of the characters and the actors as they go about, whether it's a bike person who's running and driving in a circle, the same car that goes by his street at the same time of the day, all of his neighbors and whatnot. He starts to see things where doors are opening that actually lead to backstage production areas.
Can I help? Oh, yeah. I have an appointment at Gable Enterprises.
They were blessed.
What's happening?
Nothing.
Just tell me what's happening.
Drop the bosa. We're remodeling.
No, you're not. What are those people doing back there?
None of our business. It's none of your business.
Don't tell me what's happening. I'll report you.
Well, you're trespassing.
He starts to see these things, and then his wife begins to start to turn into some questionable things that she's saying, and she starts shouting for help to people who aren't supposed to be there, and he starts to notice these things. And so how he first started to recognize this is he first was told through a side character, an extra actor on the show who he starts to actually like. She begins to tell the truth to him, even though they're not supposed to be in communication. She instantly gets taken away. So that idea of living in a fake world is planted in his mind. Then he starts to come across the next major element comes across is his dad, who passed away in a boating accident. We'll get to that a little bit later. Actually shows up as a homeless man on the world. He recognizes him, and then his dad is instantly swept away by random people who take him away in some crazy circumstances that wouldn't happen in normal life.
Dad? Hey, what are you doing? Hey! What's that? Oh, stop! Get out of the way! Stop it! Oh, stop! Stop those people! Stop! Stop! Hey! Somebody stop the bus! Stop the bus! Somebody stop it! Somebody stop the bus! Stop the bus!
So he starts to question everything going on till he gets to a point of finally understanding what's going on. He plays a trick on the production team, which allows him to escape and finally reach the end of the world, end of the fake world, so to say, where he finally realizes what's going on, has a conversation with the creator of the world in the show, and he ends up leaving and entering the real world for the first time in his life. And so this is really the plot line. So his entire world is he's a real person unaware of living in a fake world, and so his entire world is manipulated, whether through actors and weather, different world events that are happening in his little town, changing jobs or moving to different places and whatnot. His emotions, they start playing with his emotions and manipulating him in order to get certain feedback from things. And so the entire world is watching him and laughing at him and growing with him, even though they realize that he is none the wiser of what's going on.
It's all true. It's all real. Nothing here is fake. Nothing you see on this show is fake. It's merely controlled.
So with this one, there's a couple of elements that I want to talk about when it comes to noticing the predictive programming elements that are within this movie. And so the plot line is not too complicated. It's pretty simple, easy to follow. And unlike other movies where there's a whole bunch of different things going on when it comes to technology and the agenda pieces and policies, government policies that they want to put through and whatnot, this movie really has a foundation within the religious aspects of things, even though usually those who can kind of see the predictive programming elements, they tend to focus on the surveillance side of what's going on. So as we talk about this, I want to bring up the first aspect, which has to do with what I'm calling the theater of it. This fake world, the total surveillance world of what's going on. This is what we normally would recognize when it comes to the Truman Show, when we just kind of see it and are aware of the different elements that go along with it. So the first thing we want to look at is the world is full of actors.
Well, for me, there is no difference between a private life and a public life. My life is my life, is the Truman Show. The Truman Show is a lifestyle. It's a noble life. It is a truly blessed life.
Yeah, tell me something I don't know.
The world is full of actors and coordinators. This is a big one when it comes to what we see on a global scale. So within the movie, there are coordinators who are constantly telling the actors what to do in order to manipulate, to move Jim Carrey in the direction that they want him to go, to make sure that they're following a general script. Again, they just want him to be who he is, but they need to make sure that he's not getting in the places where he doesn't, where they don't want him to go. And so they're moving him in the directions that they want to do through the actors. They're getting certain talking points, making sure that they continue to drive the idea of he's living in a real world, whether it's through the radio, the conversations with his newspaper guy, with his wife, his friend, at the job, these type of elements. And so the world is full of actors that are manipulating the world and societies in the direction that they want to go. When we look at the real world of what's going on, this is ultimately with what's happening out there now. And so a lot of people who watch this stuff, and a lot of people are paying attention to what's going on out there, they still don't fully grasp the idea of all of the main leaders of these countries and governments and whatnot are basically actors.
What we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina, and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. I know that half of this cabinet, or even more, half of this cabinet, are for our actually young noble leaders of the World Economic Forum.
They are hand-selected people that are put in place in order to make sure that they're driving countries and societies and geopolitical elements and all these things in the direction that the creators, the Luciferian cabal, ultimately wants them to go. And so we're seeing an element of that on a smaller scale within the Truman Show, but really it's an element of what's going on in the real world. Russia and China, the United States and Canada and Mexico and the European countries and all these countries out there, they all have installed actors in their places in order to direct and move everything in the direction that they want to go.
As Truman grew up, we were forced to manufacture ways to keep him on the island.
I'd like to be an explorer, like the Great Magellan.
Oh, you're too late. There's really nothing left to explore.
Finally, I came up with the concept of Kirk's drowning.
Most effective. Truman's been terrified of the water ever since.
When Kirk read the synopsis for the Death at Sea episode, he was disappointed, to say the least.
The other tactic that they use in the movie is fear. They use fear to control Truman, to make sure that he is doing, not going anywhere that he's not supposed to go. So they have to be able to create an environment where he can't leave the island. Otherwise, he'll run into the edge of the world, the fake world that's going on. So ever since he was a kid, as he grew up, as well as the job that they give him, they are using fear to make sure that he will not leave the town that they have him currently living in. The first thing, and I brought this up before, when he's a child, he went on a boating trip with his dad. Well, they can manipulate the weather, obviously, so they created a giant storm and they killed off his dad as he was a kid. This created a massive fear of water. And so living on an island, how do you get off the island? Well, there's really only three ways. You drive across a bridge, you go on a boat, or you fly. Well, he doesn't want to go on a boat anymore because of the tragic accident as a kid. He doesn't want to go on a drive across a bridge either because he's afraid of the bridge collapsing and going in the water. And then later on, we'll talk about what happens when it comes to flying. He also has a absolute fear of dogs, and so what they did is they created an element of when he was a kid he was attacked by a dog, and so he does not like dogs, so they're able to manipulate him utilizing dogs. Whether he gets too far out into the forest, they can use dogs. In town, you see him constantly worried about his neighbor's dog or the little dog that a woman is carrying at the newspaper place, and so he has a serious fear of dogs, which allows them to control him that way as well. When we get to the travel agency regarding him wanting to leave for Fiji via plane, we get to the travel agency office, and the entire office is filled with posters about just ridiculous plane crashes, getting struck by lightning, diseases and terrorists, and street gangs and all these things in order to instill fear of not wanting to leave. It's saying this place is perfect. This is the place you want to stay. This is the place you want to go. And so he goes to the office, and the travel agent basically says, "Oh, we don't have any planes available for at least a month."
I'm sorry, I don't have anything for at least a month.
A month?
It's the busy season. You want to book the flight?
Doesn't matter. I'll make other arrangements. Okay.
And he just gives up on leaving by plane in that direction as well. Another element to this that is interesting is utilizing propaganda as well. You'll notice when he's sitting at his job in one of the scenes, one of his colleagues points to a magazine that says their town is rated the #1 place to live in all of the world.
Could I have directory assistance for Fiji, please? Fiji Islands.
Truman, did you see this?
And so this is another propaganda piece of saying this is the place that you want to be. You don't want to leave anywhere else. You want to stay right here. You'll also notice another element when it comes to the TV level. He's sitting there watching a TV show, and the person talks about how you never want to leave a small town. The small town is the place to be. All you need is a small town with some friends, and you're happy. Nothing else will ever be able to give you the same happiness unless that. So they're constantly trying to feed propaganda into his mind to control it in order to stay exactly where he's at.
And there'll be another episode of I Love Lucy, same time tomorrow. But right now, it's time for Golden Oldies. Tonight we present the enduring, much-loved classic, Show Me the Way to Go Home. A hymn of praise to small-town life where we learn that you don't have to leave home to discover what the world's all about, and that no one is poor who has friends.
So utilizing fear, utilizing propaganda. And basically another one of the elements that they do is as he grows older, obviously it's a little bit more difficult to try and keep an adult as opposed to a kid. But as he grows older, they get him a job as a life insurance agent. And basically he gets to every day get instilled the ideas of accidents and fires and plane crashes and boating accidents and bridge collapses and all the dangers of the world out there. His job is dealing in those dangers, which of course also instills more fear in him for wanting to leave the comfy, cozy place that he currently lives.
Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mountain Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
I've tasted other cocos. This is the best.
Now, another element to this that is pretty interesting when it comes to the theater aspect of what we see in the world is everywhere and everything is an advertisement. People are always selling something. They are constantly selling you. So how does that work in the TV show? Well, the TV show, they don't run ads. It runs 24/7, so there's no commercials or anything like that. So they have to sell things via advertisement within the show.
The show has generated enormous revenues now equivalent to the gross national product of a small country.
People forget it takes the population of an entire country to keep the show running.
Mm-hmm. Since the show is on 24 hours a day without commercial interruption, all those staggering revenues are generated by product placement.
That's true. Everything on the show is for sale, from the actors' wardrobe, food products, to the very homes they live in.
And, of course, all of it available in the Truman catalog, and operators are standing by.
And so you see elements of constantly doing advertisement reads or posters, making sure that Truman is put into a position where he's standing next to a poster. You'll see him get pushed against a thing for Kaiser Chicken, which is one of the sponsors of the show. You see them trying to sell different like mixed drinks and cocoa chocolate stuff and different kitchenware and all these types of things. And so throughout the show, they're constantly trying to sell you things. Well, if we go out into the real world, what do we got? We've got constant advertisements, bombardment of advertisements everywhere you go, on the sides of buses, magazines, newspapers, online places, videos. You go to the movie theater, now you get 30 minutes of commercials before the movie plays and whatnot. And so we're constantly trying to be sold things all the time. They're constantly gathering more information on us so they can sell us more things. And so they're always trying to sell us, just like in the show. And then, of course, the element that everybody knows of is the total surveillance, living in a world that is entirely basically on camera and on microphone. Everywhere you go, everything you say, everything you do is constantly being recorded and whatnot, just like Truman and Truman is in his life, where they're constantly watching us. We look at what's going on out in the world today. Constant surveillance. It's getting worse. You can't escape it, especially when we have the acceleration of things like Starlink, the 5G towers, and of course we have things out there like the IARPA haystack, which is all about using AI algorithms and satellites and whatnot to find people off grid and in the middle of rural areas and whatnot. So we constantly have the constant surveillance state and system that is constantly watching us, just like they were always watching Truman.
Okay, we're going to be accessing the weather program now, so hold on to your hats. You got that? No, I think we're going to want to localize a storm over the boat. You can get the coordinates for that. There she blows.
Give me some light. Again. Hit him again.
Another element of this fake world and this theater that's being put on within the Truman Show has to do with full control of the weather. They have full control to be able to control any element of the weather, the time of day, anything like that. They're able to use this to bring the sun out at any time that they want to make it dark with the stars at any time too. They can create storms, they can do thunder and lightning, wind, and all these types of things within the Truman Show. And you see different elements of that within the movie. They make it rain in certain places at certain times. You see them upwind whenever they need to. And then you'll also see at the very end when he's trying to escape the world for the final time at the very end. He's on a boat and they start basically bringing it right back to when he was a kid, and they create a storm right on top of him to try and sink the boat and to get him to turn back around. And so it's full weather manipulation. And so when we look at what's going on in the real world when it comes to this, we understand that they absolutely do have the ability to manipulate weather how they so choose. We've seen different things when it comes to the NextRad system, when it comes to HARP, when it comes to cloud seeding, when it comes to energy situations from towers and whatnot. They're able to manipulate weather, clouds and storms volcanoes and all these types of things, and earthquakes and everything. And so we see the element of what they've got in the Truman Show and what they've got in real life as well. Fully is in the same ballpark as each other.
That is a beer.
And so when we break down the theater situation of what's going on in the Truman Show and how it relates to reality, we've got a world full of actors within the Truman Show, just like we have a world full of actors in leadership positions in the world. They're constantly using fear to control, fear and propaganda to control Truman, to make sure that he doesn't go anywhere he's not supposed to go, that he doesn't learn anything that he's not supposed to learn, and it's able to manipulate him, control him to where they want to go, just like we have in the real world. They're constantly using fear for healthcare and war and terrorism and all these types of things in order to control us. Same with propaganda of what's going on when it comes to the media. We also take a look at the advertisements in the real world. They're constantly advertising, trying to sell everything all the time, no matter where you're at, in your home, on the street, in a store, at work. Doesn't matter what you're doing and where you're at, they're always trying to sell things to the viewers who are watching the Truman Show. Just like when we go into the real world, they're always trying to sell things to us. And then, of course, the total surveillance of always watching and recording and listening into what Truman is doing. They're constantly doing it to us. And then technology is increasing daily in order to make sure that they always have eyes and ears on us at all times.
He's not a performer. He's a prisoner. Look at him. Look at what you've done to him.
He could leave at any time. If his was more than just a vague ambition, if he was absolutely determined to discover the truth, there's no way we could prevent him.
All right, and getting into the big one for the Truman Show, the one that is the main foundation, the underlying theme for the movie, which may not be recognized by many people. But this is one of the main elements when it comes to the Truman Show on this. And this is the whole foundation for the movie. The movie really is one giant play for a Gnostic religious belief. And so the entire movie, the foundation of the movie, is built upon the Gnostic belief. And so what do we get with that? What do I mean by that? Some people don't know what it is. Well, basically, the Gnostic belief is the God that we know, the almighty heavenly biblical God that we have, the creator of everything. Basically, Gnostic belief is he is the demiurge who actually locked humans in a prison planet. And so Sophia, who is basically God's wisdom, sent down Lucifer, Satan, to talk to the humans to reach enlightenment, knowledge of this, so they can ascend out of the fake world into reality, into the real world. And so I'm sure you're already catching the drift of what's going on. The Truman Show, the creator, has locked Truman in a prison world, and for Truman to get out, he must reach knowledge of the truth so he can be released.
He's not a performer. He's a prisoner. Look at him. Look at what you've done to him.
He could leave at any time. If his was more than just a vague ambition, if he was absolutely determined to discover the truth, there's no way we could prevent him.
This is the foundation for Gnosticism, which is the foundation for the Truman Show. And this is what everything is based upon. Now, there's some very interesting ones, because when you look at the creator in the show, who was played by Ed Harris, his name, funnily enough, is Christoph, or if you just remove the OF at the end, it would be Christ. And so they literally give him the name of Christ as the creator in the show, which is very interesting. And so he plays the demiurge of this. He's the one who created this world. He's the one that planned to lock a human, in this case Truman, in the world that he creates, this fake world that he's able to manipulate and maneuver and basically control this person's life in this prison cell of what's going on. And so the creator locks the creation in the prison, and he has the name of Christoph, or Christ, on this. Now, another element to this, which is very interesting, which a lot of people may not realize, and I'm sure you may have heard the conspiracy theory or whatnot, But ultimately, this goes to the Gnostic belief and the Archon belief as well. Now, if I'm losing you on what Gnosticism is or what this is or anything like that, if you want to know more about Gnosticism, I recommend watching my new End Times New Age series. I break down what Gnosticism is and how it's the root that started, the root religion that started in the Garden of Eden and is basically morphing into the mystery religion that we see today, or is the mystery religion that we see today. And then if you want to know more about this Archon thing that I'm about to talk about, go ahead and watch the Aliens and Demons series. I break that down in that series as well. But basically, the Archon belief that stems from Gnosticism has to do with the creators and the controllers live in a hollow moon. The moon that we know it today would be hollow. And so the creators of the world and the humans and whatnot live in the spaceship known as the moon. And ultimately, this belief is that the moon is hollow and is indeed a spaceship, but it also contains the controllers, the creators, and the watchers, as well as a projector and a soul collector. And so what this means is the spaceship that is the moon, the creators project a holographic world that we see around us. So basically everything that we see around us is holographic. It's not really real. And it's all a projection from the archons that are currently within the moon. Now, I know this sounds absolutely ridiculous, and some people might be tuning me out at this point, but I'm telling you that there are many people who believe in this. Many people, like David Icke, who's one of the main people who discuss this, who believe this, and teach this as well. And so basically, the world that we live in is a projection. And they have a soul catcher. And so when our souls die, basically, we will be reincarnated. We'll be caught by the soul catcher that's on the moon and then sent back down into the world as something or somebody else, so to say. And so this is very interesting because not only is it this Gnostic New Age Archon belief, but this is also something that the Buddhists believe, that the creator of the world is currently sitting in the hollow moon that's going on. You can see a lot of their artwork and posters constantly have Buddha pointing towards the moon because that's where the creator lives. So what does this have to do with the Truman Show? Well, Christof, the creator, his main base, the control room, that manipulates and creates illusions upon the world is the moon.
With the show's conceiver and creator. So, come with us now as we go live to the lunar room on the 221st floor of the Omnicam Ecosphere. That's where we'll find the world's greatest televisionary, the designer and architect of the world within a world that is Sea Haven Island, Crystal. Before we begin, I'd like to thank you on behalf of our audience for granting this exclusive interview. We know how demanding your schedule is, and we all know how jealously you guard your privacy. This, sir, is indeed an honor.
Don't mention it.
So we have direct reference straight to the Gnostic belief of hollow moon, where the creators live and are projecting a fake world onto the world, a fake world onto our planet. Well, we basically have the same thing happening in the Truman Show, where the creator Christof, along with his manipulator production team, their home base is within the moon, which allows them to create illusions and a fake world down on the planet that Truman lives. And so it's really the same element. It's the same foundation that comes from it, and they're playing homage to the Gnostic belief, homage to Hollow Earth, and homage to the Archons of what's happening there. So the Archon belief, of course, has to do with the idea of perception manipulation. And so this is through holographic deception, through technology, the same thing that we just discussed. But another element to this is the Archons actually feed off of human energy. They feed off of human emotion. Just as Christof feeds off of Truman's emotion. So basically, Christof manipulates the emotions of Truman, and the more traumatic experiences, the more heartbreak, the more excitement of whatever they send him through in his life draws in more viewers, which then draws in more money to feed the show, to feed the producers, to feed Christof. Just like the same thing when it comes to the Archons. They manipulate the emotions of humans to give them negative energy, which is something that they feed off of. And so the same thing is going on in the Truman Show as well. It's very interesting. It's definitely out there when it comes to the belief systems. I understand that. But at the same time, this movie is identical. It's built identical to the Gnostic beliefs of archons, the demiurge, and hollow earth, or hollow moon. Very, very interesting. Now, this is where we start getting more into the Gnostic area of exiting the world. Within the movie, we will find during an interview, Christoph explains that Truman can escape the prison cell of the world that he has created for him by finding the truth.
He could leave at any time. If his was more than just a vague ambition, if he was absolutely determined to discover the truth, there's no way we could prevent him.
And so he explains in this interview that if Truman pushes hard enough and finds the truth, he will then be able to escape the fake world, the TV show that he currently has him locked in. This is identical to the Gnostic beliefs and the Gnostic teachings, where if we as humans can push hard enough to find the truth, to become enlightened and or awakened to the false reality around us, and we can find the truth, and we push hard enough, we will be able to push past the fake world and ascend into the real world. Just like when Lucifer was sent down to enlighten Adam and Eve, to bring them the knowledge of what's going on, they would be able to ascend out of the prison that the demiurge created into reality. And so it's the exact same thing of this movie that Christoph explains, the creator. Well, if Truman can find the truth, he will then be able to be released from the fake world that he has locked him in. We see the story of Truman begin to awaken, to be enlightened, to find the new knowledge of what's going on, and he starts to find the truth. And so at the very end, when he finally gets it, he discovers that it's all fake, and he's living in a fake world, and he needs to leave this fake world. He beats his fear by getting on a ship or getting on a boat and sailing to the edge of the earth, where he finally crashes into the edge of the fake worlds. He walks around, and what I find is very interesting symbolism for all of this is he comes across a staircase. So he will then, after finding this new knowledge and being given the opportunity to leave the fake world, he ascends the staircase and leaves into the real world.
I want to talk to him.
That is pure symbolism that they use all the time. They couldn't just have a door for him to leave. No, he had to ascend a flight of stairs in order to exit the world. And so that is symbolism of he found the truth, he found the knowledge, he finally awakened and was enlightened, and he ascended out of the fake world into that.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Yeah.
And so that is the Truman Show. As you can see, there's some pretty interesting themes and subjects within this that people aren't, the creators of the movie aren't necessarily just going to stumble upon. No, they're good. These are so close and identical, especially when it comes to the religious elements, that they have had to pull out straight from the Gnostic belief system in order to basically make it so close within the movie as it is to the beliefs and the pagan texts of Gnosticism and whatnot. So there's absolutely that foundational element to this. We can see the overall overarching theme is involved with it. The character development is involved with it. There's different symbolism and systems within it that are part of it. It's basically the foundation for the Truman Show. And then, of course, we've got the predictive programming when it comes to things like advertisements, actors and manipulations, when it comes to things like weather manipulation, and so on and so forth, that we see throughout the movie that are constantly being bombarded and pushed to us in the real world as well. So we can see the predictive programming themes of this. We can see the Luciferian theme behind it when it comes to the religious elements. And so the Truman Show, I would say, is probably not necessarily talked about very much when it comes to predictive programming. It's in the conversation, but it's not necessarily one of the main ones that get brought out. And when it does get brought out, it's mainly focused on the surveillance side of things, which, yeah, it's definitely there. But I would say that there's definitely more of the Gnostic religious belief to it, more than some of the other themes that we see going on with it. So it's very, very interesting. The Truman Show is a good movie. You can't deny that. It's well made, it's well acted, and the idea and theme and plot of it are pretty good. But ultimately, it's definitely a part of the predictive programming and the Luciferian Cabal system that we got going on, for sure. So anyways, that's what I got when it comes to this episode of Showtime. Thank you guys for joining me today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I believe this is the third episode of the Showtime series. So if you guys haven't checked out the other ones, there's more episodes to watch. Things like Enemy of the State and The Matrix and whatnot that I break that stuff down as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And until next time, I'm Zach the WretchedWatchmen.